Amen. Gosh, anyone else? Amen. Amen. So glad you did. Did anyone get all the way through the 3 steps? Anyone take somebody out to lunch? Okay, that was the third one. You did. Oh, awesome. No one in the first hour did that. No one in the first hour did that. The first one was to recognize that you have something against someone else, and begin that process of working it through, and then to re-establish a relationship by taking that person out to lunch. If you took that next step, that last step, that's the big one. And it's very interesting. Grace has this dynamic where you all talk to me and everything else. And I remember last Sunday I was greeting someone at the end of the service, and the thought was that this week you might get to take someone out to lunch, or you might be asked to take someone out to lunch. And so I was greeting this person, and they said, well, Pastor, I guess you're going to have a whole lot of lunches you're going through this week. I didn't get it at first. I walked away and I was like, what? Seriously? Don't do that to me after I preach. But I pray that if you are invited out to lunch, you will go with a heart of anticipation to learn. Okay? At least a free lunch is involved, so you can go through that aspect. But I pray that we are not allowing relationships to crumble and fall, and that we are connecting. This morning, though, I want to focus on moms. And as we talk about Mother's Day, many times if you go to the internet, you'll see places where they'll say 10 interesting, important facts about someone familiar, someone well-known, and we'll go and they'll just list off information, many times not vital to our lives, many times it's something we didn't know, kind of an FYI situation. But this morning I want to take a similar approach. I want to give you 5 very important aspects of motherhood that we see in the life of Mary, the earthly mother of Jesus. Okay? 5 very important aspects of motherhood. And if you're a mom here today, I'm going to request of you. I'm not going to have you stand, so we save that energy. I want you to expend it now. I want you to write down these 5 items. I want you to think about it later, and I want you to examine your heart, your life, your mothering, and see if that's a part of it. The first one is, Mary showed motherhood God's way. Mary showed motherhood God's way. The second is, Mary believed God for her children's best. She believed God for their best. The third is that Mary pushed unity. Mary pushed unity. Now, if you only have one child, that's not an issue for you. But if you have, think about it. If you have more than one child, you have to push that. 4 is that Mary continued to give guidance over time. Mary continued to give guidance. And then the 5th fact we see about Mary, what she tells us about motherhood, what she teaches us about motherhood, is that she stayed engaged in the life of her children. She stayed engaged in the life of her children. Now, if you are here and you are not a mother, I still want you to spend some time thinking about what we'll be talking about, because there are aspects of this that touches every single one of us. Every single one of us is a child. Every single one of us is someone's child. And I pray that you will be able to apply this even today, as you might speak with your mom later, or you might interact with another mom, or you might even want to consider how I'm doing as a child, or did as a child. But I want you to look at these 5 facts today, and we're going to walk through them. The 5 facts relating to Mary's motherhood and what it informs us about mothers. Okay? The first aspect I want to focus on is that she showed motherhood God's way. She showed motherhood God's way. Now, I know that there are many who are here this morning having come to this designation of being a mother, having taken a different route. We all, in some cases, know that there are various routes that lead to motherhood in our society. There are some who had a child born with you as your husband, and that is one stamp of motherhood. There are some who were born, and maybe that initial bond, that initial home you were a part of, did not continue after your birth or after somewhere down the road. And so maybe now you are raised to the mom, but no dad in the home. And so mom of a child of a divorced mom and being raised. There are others who came to motherhood not having a man in the home. So a single-parent pregnancy, out of wedlock pregnancy. That's another form of motherhood. There are some who are here today and you have adopted a child. You have had a child and someone else did not take care of, were possibly not able to take care of, and so you took that responsibility. You are an adopted mom. You are someone who's a fictive kin. You stepped in and you fulfilled that responsibility to some child or children. There are others who possibly had a child, but that child is no longer living. You are still a mother. And no matter what the stage or phase of that child's development was when that life was lost, you are still here in that role of a mother. There are some who are here, and the man who played a role in that child's life is not someone on your side, but someone who is against you. Wherever you find yourself today, and you have that tag, that designation of mother, can I tell you it is vitally important that you live out being a mother with the guidance of God who has given you that responsibility, allowed you to take on that responsibility. And I know that's challenging, but can I tell you there's no mom here who got to that phase, got to that stage, got to that position more challenged than Mary did. Mary was given a task that is very challenging. She had no earthly father to be a part of her child's world. She had no one she could fall back on. She had no one that as she raised her child, she could point him to who was on earth. But literally, she was in a position that most people did not believe how she got there. I turn your attention to Matthew chapter 1 and verse 18. If you are new to Christianity, new to the church, you may not know about this concept, but it's called the virgin birth. And it's expressed this way. It's expressed in chapter 1 and verse 18 of Matthew, that Mary, when she was with child, she was given that privilege without a man being involved anywhere in the process. And so we read in Matthew 1 and verse 18, it says, "Now the birth of Jesus Christ was as follows. When his mother Mary had been betrothed, she was engaged to Joseph. Before they came together, before they had physical intimacy, she was found to be with child by the Holy Spirit." That means that God realizing he was now sending an answer, a very special messenger, a very special agent into our world to make up for an incredible problem in our world, a world that is racked by sin, the rebellion against an all-holy God, those who would live a life counter to what God desires of them. So God realized that every person that was born was tainted from birth. As a man and a woman comes together, as the seed and the egg, the sperm and the egg comes together, a baby is conceived and begins to grow. God realizing that there had to be something special done to circumvent sin being passed on, allowed a sinful yet very godly young woman, teenage woman, to have the privilege of having a baby planted in her through the Holy Spirit, so that that baby would be perfect, sinless. Why did Jesus need to be sinless? Because he had to come in such a way that he could pay for our sin. And if he was a sinful person trying to die for anyone else, he'd only be making up for his own if he could do that much. But Jesus came perfect so that he could take his perfection and cover our imperfection, allowing us to come into the presence of a holy God. But let me tell you something. That was no easy step for Mary. Mary was now in a society that would kill her, possibly, if they went to that extreme step. They could kill her because she had a baby and no dad. It was not, as we often see in statistics, where someone has a child out of wedlock and it's just the way it is. No, she could have possibly died because of that. And yet, we have Mary now fully dependent on God, realizing that there was someone involved. This child was holy. This child was perfect. This child is God's answer to us. And she had to live out the shame with no gain. Nothing had happened. And yet, she depended and leaned on God. God immediately started moving to protect her, because Joseph, who initially wanted to just give her a certificate of divorce and put her away, said, no, I will still marry you, Mary, because God has laid it on her heart that this is of God, what's going on, and I will marry you because he protected her. He gave her a man in the home. He gave her, even though there were whispers, he gave her what seemed to be an answer to the fact that she was pregnant. He gave her the opportunity to live in that community, not be pushed out, not to starve, not to ever have anybody who would go after her life. He gave her a covering. And so in that moment, God had moved to put a man in her world who was not the dad. And yet at the same time, look at Mary. If you go over to Luke chapter 1, verses 45 and 47, it says that one day she hears about what's going on in talking with her cousin. And she rejoices in the presence of God because she is now fully dependent on God to raise this child, to live the life she wanted to live, knowing that at any moment she could be in trouble. Can I tell you, that is motherhood gospel. So often, moms, one of the greatest challenges of your life is seeing your child grow and seeing others maybe mistreat your child, maybe not honor your child, maybe not think of your child as valuable as you do. And yet so often, a mom can step into that role and try to take it on herself. Women, you are strong, you are incredible, but can I tell you, true godly motherhood is when you are fully, totally dependent on God. And that's Mary. Mary says, I can't do this any other way. Mary says it's impossible. Her family rejected her. Everybody else pushed her aside. Nobody wanted to believe her. Nobody accepted what she had done. And she says, I will grow this child and the other children from my womb in a way that honors God. Can I tell you, mothers, the first example we see from Mary, the first great lesson we see from Mary is that she was all in, all dependent, all laid out. All sufficiency came from God. And she had it that way. Can I tell you, wherever you are, whether your child is grown, older, or your child is young, whether you are pregnant and the potential of having a child, can I tell you, the greatest thing you could ever do is trust God for the raising of that child. Lean on God. Pray that God will bless you and give you wisdom. Pray that God will bless that little life. Pray that God will bless that older child. But that God would intervene and do that which only He can do. Guide a life, walk with a life, instruct a life. But your motherhood is at its greatest strength when you are not your greatest strength. Amen. But God. And so the first lesson of Mary we see is that she, as a young mom, is put on a scene, is put in a situation where she is totally laid out before God and says, God, you must do this. You must do this. So my question to you today is are you dependent on God? Or are you dependent on strength, yourself? Maybe you come from that two-parent. Maybe you're in that two-parent home right now. Are you dependent on your spouse or your partner? Are you dependent on some other family member? Are you dependent because you've always kind of worked it out? No. The call of Mary to every mom today is that you lean on, you fully depend on a God who says, I am your strength. And I can do it. Let me give you number two. We notice in the life of Mary as well, the second aspect, is that she believed God for the best of her children. She believed God for their best. You know, there's one thing about moms that's absolutely incredible. Moms believe stuff about their kids that nobody else can believe. I mean, honestly. There may not have been one family member in your whole lineage that ever grew above 4'9". But a mom would believe because her little boy is bouncing a ball, he's going to be the next NBA superstar. I'm telling you, Shaq was another. My boy, when he hits the court, he's going to be the real deal. I mean, a mom would believe, even though she hears her child, and everybody else around will say that kid needs to stop singing, can't carry a note, you put it in a bucket, ain't going to happen. She would think that child's going to be the next superstar, going to be the next American Idol. Oh, they just sound so good. You got to listen to my child sing. You got to listen to my child sing. Women, mothers, you believe stuff ain't anywhere near reality. Because it's your child. You see it in that child. The beauty of that child. The incredible ability of that child. It's all in your heart. And you view that child as something incredible. And you want everybody to share it. But can I tell you, sometimes that can be distorted, like I'm trying to say. Sometimes that's not accurate. And what is necessary, what is needed, is that we don't impose upon our children our best desires, best intentions, best dreams. But that we see them as God sees them. You see, because we see them as God sees them, we know how God wired them. We know how God made them. We know what they were made for. We know their inclinations because you show that to us. We'll be able to see some of the challenges as well as some of the benefits in them. But if we miss that aspect, then what we do is we go in a la-la kind of belief system, trying to, again, expect more from our kids than they are capable. And the challenge that happens is that we can get our dreams busted, shattered, and bruised. And we can never, ever see them and love them and relate to them as God intended. You know, somebody who wants to make an airplane, a car, is in trouble. You can't drive down the road like that. It was never wired, never intended, never designed to operate that way. And so you've got to see it for what it's for. It is able to fly under the right conditions and the right treatment. Proverbs 22, verse 6, I believe it is. Didn't look it up before I came up, but it says, train up a child the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Many people take that to say, well, how do you raise your child? That child's going to end up being... No, the understanding of that verse is that look at your child. Understand what that child is capable of. Understand how God designed them and grew them. Understand what God intends for their life. And then guide them in that way. Because that is how they are being prepared to live. That's when they're at their best. Mom, do you know your child for who your child is based upon what God has made them? Not on what you want them to be, not on what you dream them to be, not on all of your best intentions and expectations. They may not be able to do certain things, but they may excel in other things. They may not be able to maximize certain aspects of your dream, but they could do far greater in other areas. But you've got to hear from God. You've got to know who they are. In a world that will always tell you, in many cases, they are less than, you've got to know all that they are. And then guide them, encourage them, build them in that way. Let me give you an example of that. I turn your attention to John chapter 2. In John chapter 2, we have an incredible account. You may have heard of it. It's an account that many have said is the very first time that Jesus steps out and he performs a miracle. His very first miracle. His very first miracle. But what is very much important for us to see is the role of Mary in that miracle. And many times we hear about Jesus going to a wedding and what happened. But did you realize fully what Jesus is experiencing based upon his mom's pushing? Turn with me. John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. It starts off and it says, and on the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee. And the mother of Jesus was there. Now right there, that should capture our attention. There is a wedding that's taking place. Who's the first person mentioned? Mother of Jesus, Mary. Mary is the first person mentioned in that situation. Not Jesus, not his disciples, Mary. That means there's something significant about Mary in that event. Mary could have been the wedding planner. Maybe this is Mary's first gate. Maybe Mary is well known as the wedding planner. Maybe Mary is the oldest family member to this person getting married. But Mary is significant in this event. All right? We're all on the page with that. Everybody got that? Shake your hand if you do. You're not looking. Somebody wake him up. Somebody wake him up. Wake him up. All right, that's the first thing. Note what happens after that. Verse 2. And Jesus also was invited. Note that. Jesus was a secondary thought. Jesus comes after Mary. Mary was significant at the wedding. Jesus was also invited. Again, Mary's position, Mary's prominence. There's something significant about Mary's role in this wedding. Look at the third. It says, and his disciples. Now, it doesn't even say the disciples were invited. It just says kind of like, they crashed the party with Jesus. Oh, we're with them. That's my posse. Don't worry about that. Just this Sunday morning. Come on, guys. So all 13 of them show up at this wedding. Mary is significant. Jesus and the posse show up also. Note what happens. It's a 3-day now time. And it says, and when the wine gave out, they had a long wedding. They extended it. They had multiple gatherings, multiple opportunities to drink. They celebrated into days. And after a while, the wine gave out. And so, when it did give out, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no wine, she said. And Jesus said to her, what is equivalent to our whatever, he said, woman, what do I have to do with you? My time has not yet come. My hour is not yet here. Now, I got to tell you, I could have never pulled that off. Never going to pull it off. I'm in a come to me and she wants something, and I'm going to say, what do I have to do with you? You got a whole lot to do with that. Somebody hold on. I would have been beat down in the middle of a public setting right there. I'm going to tell you, I don't have, Jesus say, no, Mom, not now, not now. This is not the time for it. I'm not supposed to be operating on your time. I know this is a big gig for you. I know this is a big event for you, but not now. My time has not yet come. Mary's saying, no, your time is my time. Let me tell you something else. If I want you to do something, you're going to do it. So listen to what Mary said. Note the next move. Jesus has already checked Mom, pushed Mom back, said, not now, Mom, not now. I'm operating on heaven's time. I'm operating on God's time. It's not about you. It's not about the wine. It's not about me stepping out. You just need to let me be. I'm with the posse. Mary comes back. Verse 3. His mother said to the servants, whatever he says, you do it. Whoa, wait a minute, Mary. Jesus just checked you. Jesus just stopped you. Jesus just said, I'm not doing it right now. But Mary said, no, I know who he is. You don't know, but I know who he is. And so she goes to all the servants who are over the wine. And she says, that's my son. That's my boo. That's my boy. You ain't seen nothing yet. You thought you knew who he was. Little carpenter boy? Oh, no. He's about to show out, though. You about to see him and all he got. Yeah. Come on, boy. You show them little heavenly glory right now. She set him up, and she was ready for it. She said, everybody get ready. She told them, whatever he says, don't you question it, don't you argue with him, don't you even say a word. You just do it. Just do it. And then all of a sudden, Jesus starts to operate. Says, fill everything with water. Fills it up with water, changes it to wine, and it's so remarkable that they say, wait a minute, this is out of order. You don't give the best wine first. You wait till people have lost it, then you bring in the bad stuff. You did it in reverse. The better wine came from the water, and the servants were like, whoa. And Mary's like, I told you. That's Mom. That's who that is. Can I tell you, do you know who your child is? See, Mary would have never stepped out. Mary would have never put her name on the line. Mary would have never stepped into that situation. Mary would have never been so set up if she didn't know Jesus was. She didn't stop when he said no. She didn't step back when he said no. She kept coming. Why? Because I know who you are, and I know what you can do, and I need you to do it. Amen. Do you know who your child is? Do you know who they are? Do you know who they are? Not what everybody else says they are. Not what your dreams say they are. Not what you hope they are. Not what you want them to be. Not what you desire for them to be. Not what you're tired of them to be. Do you know who they are? Because if you don't know who they are, you're setting them up and you're setting yourself up. But if you know who they are, then you go after them. You keep reminding them. When everybody else says you can't, you tell them you can't because I know who you are. God has told me who you are. When they don't believe it, you keep reminding them. He has said and I have seen, and you get the stories and you take them back to it. I saw it when you were a little boy. I prayed to God. He did this in your life. I saw it when you were a little baby girl. I knew this is who you were going to be because I prayed for it. And I've seen you walk in that way, and I remember when you keep them true to who God says they are. Amen. And no one else may ever believe you. Not that teacher, not that officer, not that friend, not your family. Hear from God. You see, that's what motherhood God does. Hear from God. And when even your child doesn't believe you, say, hey, it's about to happen. You just believe God. You're going to see who you really are. You're going to see who you really are. Jesus was age 30 when Mary did this. Jesus, I know that because that's when rabbis took their mantle and took their step as teacher. And Mary is standing there saying, oh, I know where you are. I just need you to show everybody else. See, that's the message we give our kids. I know who you are. I just need you to show everybody else. No matter what they say, no matter how many degrees they got, no matter what their position is, no matter what their authority is, trust God for who your children are. Talk to God about who your children are. Stop trying to make them what you want them to be. Hear from God. And then never, ever, ever, ever waver in reminding them of who God says they are. Let me give you number 3. Number 3 is that Mary pushed unity. Mary pushed unity. In Mark chapter 3 and verses 31 and 35, there's a very interesting passage that happened. In Mark chapter 3, verses 31 and 35, we have an account where Jesus is launched into his ministry. Jesus has begun now to have people come on large numbers. They're following his Twitter. They're following him on Instagram. They're tuning in on his broadcast. And many who can get there show up. 5,000 just men. Probably in the numbers of 10,000+ women and children. You've got 4,000, probably the number of 8 to 10,000+ women and children who are showing up because he's there. One day he's at a home, and as he's at that home, Mary and his brothers hear about it. And whatever has happened in this world, you know how it is. There's good stuff, but there's also bad stuff going on. And they come because they want to make sure that he is okay. And so in this account, verses 31 to 35, we see this happen. It says, and his mother and his brothers arrived. Now, those are his half-brothers. Those are his half-brothers. Remember, he's the only one that's born, virgin born, perfect child. And I got to tell you, it's got to be pretty hard to be raised in a home where you start to sense this guy is perfect. You know? Everybody has sibling rivalries. And then he's the firstborn. He's the oldest one. He's like, oh, Jesus. You can do no wrong. Yeah. You say you didn't eat that pie, Mom, you believe you. It's like you're God or something. Oh, he was. You imagine trying to be raised in that home? I had sibling rivalries at home. I was raised in. Our kids, you had to battle to keep them from being sibling rivalries. But it happened. It happened. Imagine how much it happened to this perfect child. He didn't think he was perfect. He was perfect. Everybody else is messing up. Oh, not Jesus. He don't smoke. He don't stay out late. He does what he's told. Always tell the truth. That's got to be pretty rough after a while, doesn't it? Imagine being the parent of a perfect child. Now, I know some of you think you got one. Stop. Stop. Let's get rid of that. This is the church of the ring. Come on now. Person's been to jail how many times? You can't leave your keys out. You know what I mean? What? I put my wallet in the safe. Change your thing in the locks. Come on now. None of us have any perfect gifts. None of us are perfect. Let's just start there. So here's the deal. Jesus was, though. Imagine being his half-brothers. Half-brothers to a perfect sibling. So one day, they're concerned. However they communicated to Mary, Mary decided it's time to do something. And so, read with me, verse 31, it says, and his mother and his brothers arrived, and standing outside, they sent word to him, and called him. And a multitude was sitting around Jesus. And they said to him, behold, your mother and your brothers are outside looking for you. And he answered, who are my mother and brothers? And looking about on those who were sitting there, Jesus double-checked, reset, rebooted the situation. He said, these are my mothers and my brothers. Those who follow me are more significant. And so, mom and brothers were pushed back. Now, I got to tell you. Mary was trying to do something, knowing now that Jesus is in full glide, full stream. He is operating in his ministry God has called him to. Mary was wrong. But you know what I'm blessed by? Mary was still trying to make sure that that family was unified. Why? Because she knew he was perfect. They're not. But they seem to have a good reason for wanting to go check on him to make sure he's okay. And so she goes with them. She goes with them. Can I tell you the number one emphasis, Mom, is that you have a unified home? I already told you you can't have a perfect child. Stop that. But you can have a unified home. You can treat each one of those kids like they really matter. Like they are the only child in your world. You should not have favorites that they know about. I know in my house I was the favorite, I was number one. Ain't gonna be better than this though. But there were times Mom checked me. Let me know, no, oh no, you're all special in my eyes. And the worst thing you can ever do is set up your home where you have favorites. If your kids know you have favorites, trust me, it may not come out now because you're there still operating. When you lose the scene, when you step off out of that scene, they would then split over those issues. You show them who they are by how much you love them, and you love them unified. Mary knew Jesus was doing what God wanted to do. Mary knew brothers may have been operating under the wrong intention, and the sisters as well, but they didn't go. And Mary went to make sure, I honor what you're saying, and I want to see my son, but know you're just as valuable. Know you're just as valuable. Do all your kids know that? Let me tell you something else. Many times that unity is hit in many of our homes because many of our kids are from different dads. Jesus was from one dad. Everybody else was from Joseph. And she never said, you guys, you're way out. He's got a perfect dad. He's a perfect child. He's a perfect person. No. Let's go. Let's go talk to him. Let's go check him. Let's go make sure. Did Mary need to take that step? Was Jesus out causing trouble? No. But she needed to communicate to her other kids. Their words matter. Some of us have levels of kids, don't we? Depending on how one dad treated you, or another dad treated you, another dad treated you. Do your kids bear the results, the brunt? They should never know. They should never know. Let me give you number 4. It comes from the same passage. The fourth one is that she continued to give guidance. She continued to give guidance. You know what's incredible about this passage? We're still in the same situation. Is that she asked to see Jesus. Now, we don't know totally why. We don't know if she wanted to make sure that, he was leaving each day with white underwear. She wanted to make sure that he wasn't causing too much trouble. Wanted to make sure there was no issues going on in the community. Wanted to make sure all of the scuttlebutt she was hearing about him was not true. But Mary felt a right to go to Jesus. She felt a right to speak to Jesus. She was his mom. She had that right. And she made sure she took it. Can I tell you one of the most challenging things sometimes? Is that moms who step back because their child is too old. Step back because their child won't listen to you anymore. Step back because your child has now said, Mom, I got my own life. I need you in the middle of it. No. Can I tell you, moms, you need to be there. You need to say something. Mary was wrong, but Mary had a right to speak. Mary wasn't totally accurate, but you had a right to listen. And Mary made sure that Jesus had it registered. You may not be able to talk with me now, but I'm going to show up. Because I have a right to speak to you. My mom's not living. My mom passed years ago, decades ago now. And one of the things that I realized is that my mom will always be honored in my life because she shot straight. Not just that, but she loved at times where I was not lovable. And the best thing I ever did was listen. Now, one of the things I can tell you, Mom, is that your child may be here today, your children may be here today, or maybe not here today, and they're not listening like they should. Can I tell you, don't let that stop you from speaking. Don't let that stop you from giving godly wisdom, from even the right to speak. To speak about who they're with, speak about what they're doing, speak about who they think they are. Because there's a whole lot of people out there trying to tell them who they are. Remember what I said? Godly motherhood finds out who they are, speaks to that end. I came across a Christmas card this week, doing some rearranging in our home. And it's a card, I'm not even sure when it was. It wasn't dated. And I don't know when my mom wrote this to me. But it hit me. And I knew why I put it aside. I knew why I put it aside because she had taken the time to write it, but the message is what hit me. Can I tell you, there is something old school that is good school about writing stuff on paper and cards. I mean, you know, I'm not bashing social media. Social media is fantastic. I'm not bashing texting. I'm not bashing emails, all that kind of stuff. But do you know you can lose history of stuff, push of a button? Do you know most people never keep that stuff sometimes when they move from one computer platform to another? Do you know that something is written, if they could ever realize, you could ever realize how valuable it is, you might even take the time to write more? So that's my little push, but this is what she wrote. She starts off, just be happy. Okay? Now, that probably said a lot. Some point in my life when she was writing this, some Christmas, I was on my, my type A push. Things are never good enough. I'm gonna work hard, gonna do this stuff, gonna push, everybody gotta know, whatever. Just be happy. Just enjoy life. So she sets the tone right there. Then she goes on. She says, from Mom, it is nice having a son like you. I think God has blessed me when I had you, and I love you very much. Okay? That's incredible. That was great for me to hear now. Again, I don't know when she wrote it, but this is from the grave, people. This is from another time. Now, I may be going through whatever. You hear my mom say this? Yeah. The woman who raised me, the woman, the woman who was around me, the woman who see me grow, the woman who knew me, who could speak. Be happy. Don't stress it. Don't push so hard. Pull back. Just make sure you're enjoying life. Says that she's proud of me. Come on now, bring it. Yeah. Don't matter what I'm going through. My mom loved me. Then she finished it up. Last thing. Don't get a big head now. Smile. I know. Pick me up and take me there. She know what I don't think so. I don't know who that woman is anymore. Can you imagine that? She had no right to speak. And you know what? I remember. I will cherish this card. I know that's why I put this out. I have anything else for Mama. This card made that. It's in that file, in that folder. Can I tell you, moms, don't ever let this wrong thought come to mind. My child was old enough now to be grown. Jesus was 30. Mary showed up. Mary had a message. Mary wasn't right. Mary had a message. You have a message to your child. Don't ever think they have outgrown that message. Don't ever think they have outsuccessed that message. Don't ever think they no longer need that message. You're in that life. The only timeline that was given to the sixth commandment, honor your mother and your father so your days on the earth might be long. The fifth commandment is nothing. It has no timeline. It has no expiration date. Doesn't say honor them up until you get your own family. Honor them up until you get that six-figure job. Honor them up until you think you're grown. Honor them up until you got your own kid. No, it says for life. Amen. And so, Mom, how dare you step back and say, well, they're not going to listen. They don't want to hear me around. I'm not even sure if they really care for me. No, you have a right. You have a right. Lord knows you listen to your kid when they were talking about, and then they got a little older, and made more sense, but was still, and they talked like they knew all that was going on. We were right. You put up with an awful lot. Don't you ever stop talking to your kids, especially about God, especially about Jesus' things, especially about where they need to be and who they are. And they may shut you up, they may shut you down, they may run from you. You keep talking. Amen. You have a right. Don't ever think you do not. Now let me go back and step on the other side. If you're a child here today, can I tell you something? You have a right to listen. Amen. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how many kids you got. Doesn't matter how many grandkids you got. Doesn't matter what you are hoping to do. You have a right to listen. Honor your parents. That's it. That's it. And so I want to tell you, it's a two-way street. Please, I wish my mom was here. I wish she was all up in my world. I wish she would tell me not to have a big head. I wish she was right there in front of me. You don't know how long you have that honor. You don't know how long you have that blessing. Amen. Get in. Get all in. Get all in. Honor your parents. Listen to your parents. Be respectful. Like I said, there were times you were talking about, Bobo and I are going to get married, and Bobo going to do this for me, and I don't need you anymore. I'm not going to be like Dad, or I'm not going to be like you, and he's not going to be like that. Bobo is a hiss. She put up with that mess. Oh, Mom, I would have done different. Don't. She came back later and said, Mom, you're right. You do whatever you want with that child. I can't even raise you anymore. You have all that stuff's history. Honor your parents. Honor your mom. Mom, we honor you. You have a right to speak whichever stops you. Amen. If you are wise, you won't stop us. Let me give you the last one. The last one is stay engaged. Stay engaged. There's a passage in John chapter 19 I want to turn your attention to. But before I get there, I want to point out this fact to you. Do you know out of all the close relationships Jesus had, none of them were at the cross? Joseph, Mary's husband, the one who stepped in to protect her, falls off the scene early in the Gospels. It's believed that Joseph died. So Mary was a widow from a very young age, And so as she lives her life, she doesn't have that one she walked with, she loved, and she really deeply cared for. No one was around that cross with Jesus. A few women. None of the disciples, except for John, was around that cross. All of his BFFs, all of his boys were not there anymore. They all scattered. None of them wanted to die. And yet, Mary was there. Mary was there. You skip the scene 3 days later, at the tomb, Mary's there again. Now, don't miss that point. Don't miss that fact. She saw her son hanging on a cross. She saw her son being cursed at, disparaged, talked down. She saw him ridiculed. She knew who he was, but no one else saw it. She knew why he had been born and how he had been born, but no one else cared. She saw the grandness and the greatness of her son, now marred by him being treated like a common criminal. She saw him poke his side. She saw probably the driving into the nails into his arms, into his feet. She saw him writhe in pain as he's gasping for breath on a cross where he could not last for long. He missed the scene of savagery of the cross. She stayed. But not just the savagery, the shame that he would end up this way. All the promise, all the hope, all the expectation, all that she knew he could do. And here he is, on the very verge of death. She's watching. The shame that he's seen as this criminal. The shame that they thought they had a right to kill him and brutalize him. The shame of what she experienced. Can I tell you something? There's some of you today are going through the shame of walking with your child. Some of you are going through the shame of where they are, who they are, what they've become. Some of you are seeing the shame of never ever thinking they would ever be there. Some of you are seeing the shame of having to stay close to them and say, that's my child, knowing that there are other people thinking about what that means and not much about your child. Some of you who are here today are carrying the burden of knowing that they've made choices in their lives and taken them in a direction you never imagined for them, never wanted for them, would have given your own life so that they would never have to live. Some of them living lives where their orientation choices are there. Some of them living lives where addiction choices are there. Some of them living lives where they just think that they know so much. Some of them living lives where you know this is going to end and they don't want anything to do with it. Some of them who are raised in Christian homes who says there is no God. Some of those who just want nothing to do with you. The shame of it. So, can I tell you, Mary ended up 3 days later the resurrection. She was at the grave. She saw. She came to honor her child when nobody else wanted to, but a few women who risked going out. Because she knew, that's my child. Can I tell you, wherever your child is, whatever that child is going through, the shame of it, do not give up on that child. Do not give up on that child and what everybody else is saying. Do not honor that child and where they are. Do not say it's the right step you're taking. Do not wrongly encourage them, saying, no, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter at all. No. You can still take your stand, but keep loving that child. Keep trying to reach that child. Keep staying in relationship with that child. Why? Because you must go through the shame to get to the resurrection. And when you get to the resurrection, you'll see the grandeur, the greatness of what God was doing in the shame, because it brought them to a resurrection that makes them stand even stronger. Jesus was nothing without the shame of the cross, so that he might be resurrected in the grandeur of the tomb that was empty. Because they couldn't see that if they haven't seen it earlier. We couldn't be saved if he hadn't been crucified. And I can tell you, there is something about where your child is. You may just have your skin crawling. How much it hurts, and you wouldn't want this for them. But can I tell you, you must go through the shame. It's not your choice. And they're taking you with them. But you got to go. You got to go. Because the resurrection will come as you continue to show them the God of the resurrection. And you will be blessed in the process. Even in the midst of the shame, in John 19, the story account is that as Jesus hangs on the cross, he looks down. In the midst of all that he is suffering, he looks down. And you know who he thinks of? He thinks of his mom. He looks at the one disciple that was there, the one who was closest to him, and he says, John, your mother. Mom, your son. He took care of her for the rest of her life. Because it said immediately John brought her into his home and treated her like his own mom. She had no dad. The brothers that Jesus had, maybe the sisters, we don't know why she didn't go with them. Maybe they didn't believe what she believed, that Jesus was indeed the Son of God. And therefore, it would not have been that love there initially. But he took care of his mom. And you know, you might be here today, you're struggling, you're wondering, will there ever be hope beyond where I am? I want to speak to you today. In Isaiah, in chapter 48, it has an incredible passage. Chapter 49, verses 18 on, it talks about the fact that as Isaiah talks, he says, can a nursing mom in earlier verses give up, forget about her child? But you know what's incredible in that passage? It says, look up and look around. All your children are gathering to return to you. The Lord says, as sure as I live, your children will be jewels. You will be as proud of them as a bride of jewels. Isaiah says that to the people of God who rebelled against God. God is calling them back. He's given them hope in the midst of a dark, dark world and time. Can I tell you, that's the same God today? Wherever your child is, they're not too far, he cannot reach them. Wherever your child is, they're not too forsaken that he cannot redeem them back. Wherever your child is, there is still hope. And a God who could do that then can do that now. But you got to go through the shame. You got to go through the pain. You got to go through the agony. There's a resurrection. And that's where your hope is. The God who resurrects is the God who will touch that child and bring them back. Is that your prayer? Remember where we started? Mothering God's way, depending on God, his way. You're doing parenting his way, not on what you're able to do, not on your perfection. No, you're doing it on the grace of God. And so I want to tell you where we are this morning, that you would lean in, depend on it fully, and trust that God will stand. Moms, I want to pray for you. I don't know where you are. Like I said, maybe some of you who are waiting for a child, just like Sheena birthed into existence, this new one. Maybe you're later on, you're older, and maybe it's your own parents you're dealing with. But I want you to know today, there is hope beyond where you are, and that you would trust God, for he is the ultimate parent, and he desires to walk with you as you walk with him. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I bless you, and I thank you so much for your grace and love. Lord, you are an incredible God. We stand amazed by you. And Father, in this day, I bless these moms. There's one here who does not know you. Again, none of us are perfect. That this might be the day of decision, the day of trust. And that there might be a choice to give their lives fully to the God who loves them. Who says, you cannot earn your love of me. You cannot earn a right relationship with me. But you must give up and give your life over to me. And so I pray this day, before that person leaves, that you've convicted them that they need a Savior. They cannot enter into your presence on their own goodness. And that we would talk even before they leave. I pray for those who are here, Father, and they are going through some good times, just rejoicing in motherhood. Thank you for their blessing. May they remember to pray for those who may not be going through such good times as well. And I pray, Lord Jesus, for those moms who are struggling today, hearts heavy, burdened, wanting their children to be somewhere else. Lord, bless them and strengthen them as they go through the shame. And I pray that they are heading to the resurrection. Do as only you can, for only you alone can resurrect the life and give hope beyond the grave, because we are more than conquerors in you. And so it is with our prayers as well. Bless these moms. Continue the work you've begun. Thank you for their faithfulness. In Jesus' name we pray.